Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Debbie and this is my Crafty Dan. And I'm just sitting at my desk and playing with some thrift store finds. So a couple of weeks ago at the thrift store, I don't even think I did a haul for this. You know how sometimes they'll bag up like materials together or a donation bundle together and sell it for a certain price. So in this bag was this package of Canson watercolor paper. It is 9 by 12, 15 sheets for 90 pound weight, acid free. I'm not a watercolor artist, so I don't know anything about watercolor paper at all. This is cold pressed. I'm not even sure what that means. But it says lightweight student grade watercolor paper. So I'm just assuming that it's not an expensive brand. There were also these Pentel watercolors in here, and they are these little tubes of watercolor paint. And I've never used anything like this before either. And in that packet were these magazines. I don't know much about watercolor, but I might read a little bit of this and see what it's all about. This is The Art of Robert Warren Series 1. But oh my gosh, if this had have been separate, guys, I would have bought this. This is absolutely gorgeous. Like, this is frameable. And yeah, look at this. As far as I'm concerned, these are frameable pictures. I could put these up on my wall. But there's also these pictures in here. I'm assuming for tracing or learning to draw, or, you know, I'm not sure what it's all about. But this is the same type of book. It's an Alexander instructional book. That's what the other one was as well. And this is The Art of Bill Alexander and Sharon Perkins. Wow. Look, guys, more pictures. Yeah, so I'm absolutely thrilled with just the magazines in here. The Alexander collection, whatever this is. I haven't even looked at this. Oh, gosh. Isn't that pretty? Anyway, there's a bunch of these in here, and this is another one. It's floral art. I mean, if it could teach me how to paint like this, I'd be absolutely thrilled. So I do like to make ATC cards, and I was just playing around with the watercolors and some of the watercolor paper, and came up with these two little set. They were this little set of Bachelor button flowers. So I just thought I'd do another one because I want to have a set of 3. And I'd show you how I was doing them. Okay, and best of all, I paid $5 for that whole bag of stuff. So, yeah, isn't that amazing? So I'm gonna cut 3.5 inches off the bottom of this watercolor paper. 3.5 inches is right there. Just like that. And then I'm going to take these and I'm going to cut it into 2.5 inch wide pieces. So 2.5 inches. I'm still struggling with this paper cutter, guys, although it cuts so lovely and I'm so glad to have it. So 2.5 inches and 2.5 inches like that. So I think you can get 9. If you wanted to do a pocket letter using these, I'm sure you'd get at least 9 of these cards out of here. So I'll show you how I did the background for the first 2. So yeah, I have this sticker paper that I've used all the stickers off of. So to make the background for these 2, and I liked this one better because it was way more subtle. So I'm going to do a green background, and I'm going to show you how I did that. So I just took the watercolor and grabbed some. I like this green. It was the prettiest one. And I just took it and I put a little bit down, just a dab, because I'm assuming that these are fairly well pigmented. So I took a dab of that and I put it down there. Let's put that back in the box. And then I squeezed a little water out of my water brush, just a couple drops, down onto here, and I mixed this up like this. And I just splattered it around on the paper like that. And then I did this, and I started to just squeeze some onto my paper. I know that if I was going to paint with watercolors and do a proper watercolor painting, I know that you wet your paper first, and there's all kinds of techniques that you can do. But so this is what I'm doing here. I'm just going to take this and dip it down like that. I'm going to bring this to the edges because I want color all the way to my edges. Tap that off on there, and then I'm just going to take my heat tool and dry this. So usually I will shut my camera off while I'm drying something, but I want to show you guys the process that I did here. So, and dip and dry, and dip and dry. I'm going to spread that around a little bit more. I don't like that edge there. Like, the one thing that I did figure out with this is that you can kind of just move this around on the page. And if there are lines, you can kind of just go back and rub out anything that's too solid, or like these little drops. I kind of want this just shaded in different colors of green, but I don't want any significant dots or anything like that on here. So that's kind of what the blue one looked like that I did, this one, and I thought it was too dark, so I took a wet wipe and I just folded my, this is fairly wet too, and I'm putting it over top here, and I'm going to press down and lift some of that color back off there. And it kind of makes it just go a little pale. And then I'm going to dry it one more time, and I think that'll be okay. There. So I'm going to do another set of these little bachelor button flowers. I was doodling one day, and I kind of fell into a pattern, I guess you could call it, to draw these. So I start with a pen like this, because it has a fine tip on it. This is just a fine liner. And what I do is I start by making an S like this, and then I do opposite so that I have this, and then I do another one, but not straight across, like that. Now I have this kind of little floral bit to start with. So I will do just little lines in between the points like this. Because remember, it's a bachelor button and it's just got a whole bunch of points. So then I'm going to take it and I'm going to decide that my stem's going to come off of here. So I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to, and I'm just going to go all the way around my flower like this. Some of them will be shorter and some of these lines will be longer. And they're not all consistent, like they're not all the same. And I've gone around to the opposite point, or the point beside, where I started. So basically I have a flower that looks like that. And I like doing them in groups of 3. And it's not as important how you do this, as long as it's kind of like a circle that you're following going around, or an oval, and you don't go in between just 2 of the original petals. And you'll end up with a bachelor button of sorts every time, like that. It works perfectly, at least in my opinion it does. And I mean, they don't look the same at all because I don't do anything exactly the same. I'm just kind of following that same method by starting with 4 petals. I'm going to put 1 like that. So I start by using 4 petals. So to do these, I end up doing just a stem. My stems on them are fairly straight. They can come out and come down like this, like that. I just try to be whimsical with the stems, and the leaves on this are just like a really long, thin just like a long skinny blade of grass, like that. And I only do 2 on each one. Like that. So for color on here, back to my watercolors again. And I had a little palette out here. So I have some pinky purple ones. I have some reddish colored ones. I'm going to do some purpley and blue ones. When you get something new, just play with it, guys. I mean, the best way to learn how to do something is to just play with it. So I'm going to put the color in the petals here. I'm not being overly careful. I'm just brushing it out to the tips. I mean, if I go outside the lines, I don't care. And I'm going to put some in the middle like that. And that's really dark. So I'm just going to take a tissue and blot off some of this. So what I have left is that. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. So I'll show you again what I was doing because I don't think I had that in frame. And so basically all I did is went from the points and just drew the paint, because it's really wet, into the middle of the flower. So like I said, if I don't go right up to the line or I'm out of the line a little bit, I don't care. Oh, you don't have to be a watercolor artist to have fun using some watercolor paints. So, there. That's nice and wet. I'm going to take a tissue and put it on there and blot it off a little bit so that it's a little bit lighter. Okay, I'd like this next one to be just a shade lighter blue. And I know that there's some lighter blue on I'm using a lid for kind of a palette. But there's this lighter blue here as well. I'm going to squeeze a little bit of paint out onto that and get some of that on my brush. And do the same thing here. So the point's an end. It's easier for me to do the point, to go to the point and drag in instead of dragging out to the point, because they're not really big enough to do that. And let's dab some off of that one. Okay, I'm going to dry these. So now I'm going to do some of the stem. And to do the stem, I'm going to reach for this. It's called Viridian, and it's a really dark green. These are teeny tiny little tubes of paint, but I'm sure I'm going to have all kinds of fun with them. I'm just using a wet wipe and going around to take most of that blue out of there so that I can now add just a drop of water and play in this dark green right here until it's wet. You don't have to add much water. I barely squeezed 1 drop into that. So for these leaves, I'm just going to start at the tip and brush down. And in the center of the stem. So all I'm doing is starting at the tip, press down a little bit when I want it to widen, and then lift up again. So just like that. Fairly simple. And then for the stems, I'm not going to press down hard at all. I'm just going to brush along beside my pen mark. And then I'm going to take a little more paint on my brush, and right up at the top here, I'm going to widen that stem, because all flowers have that wide spot where the flower is attached. That's that. I'm going to give it a quick dry, and then I'm going to show you how to make those flowers lighter and what I've been doing to kind of define them. So it's dry, and this is what I have. But I mean, to me, that's not pretty yet. So I'm going to take my, not that one, I'm going to take my acrylic painter, and this is just a water-based acrylic paint marker, and shake it up good. Make sure that I've got my paint running. There. And then I am actually going to redraw these flowers. So I think you can see, if you can't, I'm so sorry. But all I'm going to do is redraw all of these little petals that I started with. And what happens is, because this is an acrylic-based, this is an acrylic painter, and it's water-based, and it's like the watercolor paints. So it is actually going to, whatever color I made my original petals out into, the red ones or the, in this case, the blue ones, it absorbs some of the paint and changes the color so it doesn't come out stark white. There. And now, so that's why I think that it's like magic, because all of a sudden, these little bachelor button flowers have dimension, and they're just so stinking cute, guys. They're so cute. So I'm going to find myself a word to put on or something to write on each one of these little sets of flowers. Each one is different, but really pretty. I think I want a bit of a highlight. So I'm going to go down one side, just one side. Of the stem and the leaves on these as well. Now, remember that if you're going to do that, if you're going to go over the leaves, I have this leaf going over top of the other one. So you have to leave a space there so that you can tell that you've gone over top of it. There, I think that's really cute. I think I'm going to do that on these ones as well. It just gives them a little bit of a look like they're being kissed by the sun. So there are my bachelor buttons. Let's get rid of some of this. I'm going to clean up my mess. I want some words on here. So, and I'm not exactly sure what I want it to say. But I'm going to go to my old standby, and I'm going to grab some of my Tim Holtz words. So let's just see what we have. I like this one, and it says, "Be you bravely." So I'm going to put that one on here. Before I put it on here, though, I am going to add just a little touch of liquid glue to it, simply because from experience, I've found that the glue dries out on the back of the pre-stuck pieces, and you end up with it falling off of your piece. And if you want them to stay, then you're going to add a little bit of glue to them. I also like this. It says, "Go where your heart takes you." And I'm going to cut it into a few separate pieces. I grabbed my scissors. Go where your heart, come off of there, takes you. There, 3 should be good. And I am going to put them on. Go where your heart takes you. And what shall we do on this one? How about look on the bright side? Stick on there for a minute. So there, those 3 are done. Let's let that glue dry for just a minute, and then I'm going to finish these up. Okay, now that these are dry, or at least I just wanted to make sure that there was no glue along the edges that had stuck out. Nothing to ruin my pen, basically, because, yeah, I like these pens. So I'm going to go around the outside of each little square that has my quotes on. And I'm just going to draw right along the edge, but I'm not stopping at the corners. I'm going over the corners just a little bit like that. There. Go where your heart takes you and be you bravely. And I think I'm just going to stitch around them. There, guys, what do you think? What do you think? I think they turned out really pretty. So I just have a list of names and I randomly choose somebody and send them something. So that's where these will probably go to. They'll just, I'll just write on the back. Now I'm going to show you what I write or what I put on the back of my ATC cards. So you can just write artist, trading card, by, and I'll put my name, on, and I'll put the date, and I'll put title, Bachelor button, number 1. And I'll do that for the same thing on the back of all 3 of them, but I'll do Bachelor button number 2 and Bachelor button number 3. So that's what the back will look like, and I'll just send them off to somebody. And people collect these. Now, the reason artist trading cards are made 2.5 by 3.5 inches is because that's the size of a hockey trading card, any of those trading cards. And you can get the hockey card sleeves, the collector sleeves, the pages that hold 9 cards, and you can put them in a binder and you can collect other people's pieces of art. And they don't have to be painted art or anything like that. It can be a mixed media card. It can be whatever you do, you can turn it into an artist trading card. So it's just whatever you like to have fun with. You do it in a 2.5 by 3.5 inch size, and write on the back when you've done it your name so people know where it comes from. And I love to trade these. I traded them for so long, guys, that I have binders full. So I don't trade anymore. I just send them off as happy mail to people whenever I do one, and or 2 or 3. I like doing them in sets of 3 and then sending them off to someone. So that's it. That's my little set of 3 trading cards. Now the light's gone out. If it looks like it's a little darker, it's because the light's gone out on my camera. My battery's starting to go dead, so I have to finish this up. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please share it with your friends on social media. That will help me grow my channel a bit. And by all means, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, do that before you leave so you can come back and join me again for another little visit. And I will see everybody in the next video. And until the next one, bye-bye for now, everybody.